During the years of the transatlantic slave trade, families were splintered, their lineage lost, leaving unanswered questions for many African Americans to this day.
Questions like, where did I come from? Who are my people?
I'm tired of being labeled. I'm an American. I'm not an African American. I'm an American.
Oh, girl, don't set up the Twitter on fire.
I'm sorry.
What?
I'm sorry.
My Lord. What did you just say? Stop the tape right now. Okay.
I will say this.
What?
I mean, I don't know where my roots go to. I don't know where my roots go to. I don't know how far back they go. I can't go on, I don't know how far back, and I don't know what country in Africa I'm from. But I do know that my roots are in Louisiana. I'm an American. And that's a colorless person. Because we're all people. I have lots of things running through my veins.
Everything we were told was a lie. It's buried deep in all our memories, in our identity. They lied to us.
It's time they know the truth about us. Waking up the people of the Mosaic. Got the knowledge to destroy the lies. DNA history, open eyes. Walk into the darkness and turn on the lights. Wake up, 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 wake up.
For many, Black History Month is a crucial time to honor significant figures and events. But a recent reflection we are discussing today raises a provocative point. After decades, I've realized I've lived through more than 50 years of Black History Month indoctrination. Year after year, the same story is repeated by our schools, our media, and even our religious institutions, a narrow narrative that begins with our arrival on the shores of the Americas and the Caribbean. Don't misunderstand me. We must honor those who paid unimaginable prices to push our people forward. The inventors, builders, and leaders who sacrificed everything to make this country better. Their names and their blood matter. But when the same story is told over and over, it forces a deeper question to rise. Why are we the only people on earth taught to believe we have no history, no homeland, no heritage to claim? After centuries of slavery, abuse, mutilation, and terror, our ancestors were kidnapped, carried to foreign lands, and stripped of their names, their languages, and their customs. Entire systems were built to crush identity, to dehumanize, and to normalize erasure, and many of those systems are still standing today. Research even shows that people severed from family and ancestral ties face higher risks of instability throughout life. So this isn't just history we're talking about. It's memory, identity, and the psychological cost of being taught that your story begins in chains. Before we were enslaved, we were someone. And this journey begins by tearing down the systems of erasure and following our identity all the way back home. It's time for us to wake up and discover the whole truth in order for us to truly be free.
It's time. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Welcome to Berean Scholar. I want to welcome the ones who are live. Let me check the chat. For those of you in the chat so far, can you hear me? Give me a 1. Let me see the ones in the chat. Thank you. Daily repentance for being faithful and being here, guarding the chat. I hope some other monitors will come on and give you some assistance. Thank you, Sister Jordana. If you can hear me, give me a 1. Let me see we got our audio right. We're still working on that. We are replacing our mics, so I had one to go out on me, so we're doing that. So we hopefully get that done by this week. But we have a good one tonight. We did not have our live yesterday because we didn't want any, all the people who do watch football might have been into it. I'm an ex-football player, but I would have done a live if I thought people would have been on it. But I didn't know why fight it. We'll do one tonight. But tonight would be worth it. We'd have a sort of like a courtroom session on Black history. And what I've been seeing all this week, all this month, so most people are celebrating Black History Month, and rightly so. But we're celebrating the month of the Great Awakening. The month of the Great Awakening. In fact, if you would do that, Post that on your social media. Have a happy Great Awakening month. So people ask you questions. What are you talking about? Happy Great Awakening month? What do you mean Great Awakening month? We need to wake our people up to make them think outside of the box. Now, how many of you, and before I get into that, I'm gonna bring some people up as witnesses in this courtroom. I have some guests gonna be on today. I have a brother on from Pine Hill Production. Let's see, can I bring him up on the stage right quick? Brother Lau, how you doing?
Hey, shalom. I'm doing great. How are you, sir? How you doing?
I had to subpoena you to the courtroom today, so we need evidence to do this case. We're gonna have a case following the clues of our history before 1619.
And I will tell the truth based on the facts, sir.
So you would tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So let's get into it. For those who you are joining, I want you to please make sure you hit the like button, share it so other people can hear it. But let's get into it because this is going to be a lot of stuff we got to get doing. And we got other witnesses we'll call to the stand too. How many of you, just like myself, if you've seen in the video we said before, I realized of my life, I've been through 53 years of indoctrination of Black history. 53 years of studying the same topics every year. And yes, we honor those who came before us. Yes, there's a lot of genius Black inventors, entrepreneurs, leaders that came, and that's right, because that's who we are, it's in our DNA. But somehow every year our mindset get reset to slavery. I reset to our history here on these shores, on these lands. What about before 1619? Why have most people have not looked beyond the shores of this land? In fact, if you saw the video I just played, I forgot the young lady who was saying that she called herself, she's American. She didn't call herself Black, but she had two Black parents, and she plays on Disney Channel. I forgot her name.
Raven Simone.
No. So like some other celebrities, like Tiger Woods, they want to call themselves Black. They want to identify with the Black part of them. But what about those people who have financial means, but they still don't think to look beyond these shores? What do you say about that, brother?
I think we're kind of we've always been at that crossroad. Identity. Where a lot of folks just try to buy into the concept of that melting pot. So I'll just use, United States of America, even though we know the diaspora is bigger than that. But they try to buy into that melting pot. Oh, I'm just American. I'm just this. But, other groups of people, and notice it's just with Black folks, but other groups of people, they still maintain some type of ethnic identity to their country of origin. And some of them are very proud of that. But when it comes to us, if we, say Black, if we say African American, whatever the case may be, then all of a sudden there's some type of negative connotation that's kind of placed on us because we are identifying with a mother country or a continent, I should say. And so, I think we've been at that crossroad for a long time, especially throughout the 20th century and the 21st century. But, not to get ahead of your conversation, if we go back in time, we start to see clues where our ancestors either knew directly who they were or information was passed to them to where they kind of kept bits and pieces of the history alive.
And that's exactly what we want to do today. We want to dig up these clues because it's amazing. And I think back to myself. There's information I found out about my own personal family's history and lineage that I have not found out since I came into this awakening. And I was wondering, why was I not looking? What about this stupor that we've been putting in, and you know, that's been prophesied in scripture that we'll be in a stupor in this land of our captivity. We'll be here and we've forgotten who we are. Our identity been stolen. It's just like it's something that kept us from looking. And that's what that amazes me. In fact, I bring the conversation up with some people that when people I have had contact around and they ask me how I'm doing. And the first thing they said, "Are you doing this? Are you still at the church?" And well, no. Oh, why not? And I said, that's always the leading question. Why not? You got time? I can tell you.
Yeah.
So just like you said, we as a people have a deep and a rich heritage, and we're gonna hopefully tonight unlock a lot of clues, and I hope give people who are listening tonight tools that you can go ahead and follow your own path and trace back. Number one, how many of us remember the movie by Arnold Schwarzenegger, Total Recall? Came out in 1990.
Yeah, it's been a
Remember
minute.
that movie?
Yeah.
Let me play. We'll bring it. Mr. Sort of jog your memory.
Now let me see. Basic Mars package will run you 899 credits. Now that's for 2 full weeks of memories, complete in every detail.
Yeah, but how real does it seem?
As real as any memory in your head.
In this movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger is your average person when it comes on. He has a wife, has a job, he's working at some kind of factory, and he has this yearning to know more about Mars. This is a futuristic movie, but for some reason he has this something inside him says more than my life. My life should be more than this, and everything he looks makes him want to know more. And he comes across this ad on TV talking about a vacation, a virtual vacation where they implant memories. And in this company he visited, it gives him choices what he can be, and he happened to choose secret agent, which really he is a secret agent. He didn't know that, but he just happened to choose that. So in Total Recall, you found out that he had a wife. They were really his wife, but she was put there to keep him in his pretend life. He had a person all around him at his work who really wasn't working, but they were put there to keep him in his stupor. And a lot about that movie remind me of us. It's a lot of things that this system and the Babylon system is put here to keep us in our stupor. But tonight, we're going to try to give you keys to wake up. Now, we're going to start our travels down in South Carolina. My first, I call myself to stand first, and then brother, you're gonna be the first after me, and we're gonna start with the people that we call Gullah Geechee. But one of the things we're gonna start with is people in that region from South Carolina, southern Georgia, that kept some of their own tradition, but didn't know where their tradition comes from. Let me play this video. And guys, if you cannot hear the video, please let me know, and I'll restart it. So, are you ready? We'll let it go.
During the years of the transatlantic slave trade, families were splintered, their lineage lost, leaving unanswered questions for many African Americans to this day.
Questions like, where did I come from? Who are my people? Now a Jacksonville man has answered his own questions through the help of a song and is making up for lost time. On Your Side's Andrew Badillo has the story.
Wakamona kambaya lele tambe wakamona kambaya lele.
5 sentences containing centuries of pain and heritage. Words that have given a Jacksonville man's life greater meaning.
Nothing would have happened without her having the song.
The song, traditionally sung by women, has had many keepers over the years. One of them, a little girl from a village on the west coast of Africa during the 18th century. Her name is lost to history, but she was Winston Relaford's great-great-great-great-grandmother.
And I can imagine that slave girl, many a night on the ship, in the yard at Bunce Island, and on the plantation here, she cried out. And when you cry out, you cry in the language of your birth.
The story of the song is chronicled in the documentary film The Language You Cry In. African-American linguist Lorenzo Dow Turner first recorded it in the 1930s in the coastal town of Harris Neck, Georgia. The singer's name, Amelia Dawley. The recording sat idle for 50 years until anthropologist Joe Apollo used linguistic clues to connect the song to the country of Sierra Leone. Traveling with another linguist and an ethnomusicologist, they went village to village playing the recording, until finally, exhausted, they reached the remote village of Senehun Gola. This time, the village sang along.
When you saw the language you cry in, you felt, well, I belong somewhere else. And it was a reckoning, if you will, that, my God, there is a beginning. There's something where my family came from.
That lineage connected for the first time. When the team returned to Harris Neck, Georgia, they shared their discovery with Amelia Dawley's daughter, who remembered her mom singing the song.
Imagine singing a song you don't understand and discovering that the words were the language of your ancestors. Meet Amelia Dawley from southern Georgia. In the 1930s, she sang a lullaby to her daughter Mary that had been passed down through her family, but to her, the words were meaningless. This is Lorenzo Dow Turner, a linguist studying the Gullah Geechee dialects from the Low Country. In 1933, he made a recording of Amelia singing her lullaby. It wasn't until one of his students heard the recording and recognized a few words as Mendi, a West African dialect from Sierra Leone, that Turner was able to roughly translate the song into English. Turns out the lullaby Amelia had been singing was actually a funeral dirge. And that's where the story would have ended, except 60 years later, anthropologist Joseph Opala discovered the recording and together with ethnomusicologist Cynthia Schmidt took a copy thousands of miles away to Sierra Leone, home of the Mendi dialect. They traveled throughout the country playing the song for people, but sadly no one recognized it. That is, until Schmidt traveled to an isolated village called Senehun Ngola. There, she met a local woman named Bayindu Jabati, who heard the recording and instantly recognized the song.
In
1997, Amelia's daughter Mary flew to that isolated village in Sierra Leone and met Jabati and almost definitely discovered the home of her ancestors. That melody reunited two cultures, separated for centuries by the horror of the transatlantic slave trade. Amelia's lullaby wasn't meaningless. It was the voice of her ancestors.
I walk on Mona,
The song of the nameless little girl who was kidnapped, shackled in the bottom of a boat, and sold to a plantation in the 1700s. Her survival, her song, linking past, present, and future.
It's our job to carry it forth. And we're just a part of the history so that the significance of that song would never be lost again. This is my grandmother.
Wilson Moran is Amelia Dawley's grandson. He still lives in Georgia, but is close cousins with Winston Relaford in Jacksonville.
We have become brothers.
Yeah.
That's about the only way I can explain it. Now, we don't always agree. I got to tell you that right now. Yeah, he's got a mind of his own.
The film documents Wilson and his mother visiting Sierra Leone for the first time, to a massive welcome from the village.
I cannot put it in words how I felt and how I still feel. And that's the reason I go back continuously.
To see the courtyards that they were housed in. They had a big courtyard that was directly under the overseer's quarters on the second story. And in that courtyard, there was troughs. The men were housed there, and they were all shackled from their ankles. And they were given rice to eat, and they poured it in a trough like hogs. It's the inhumanity of all of that. Even after all of those years, it still had a bit of pain in it when you consider what our forefathers went through.
On their last trip, the cousins built a home for the woman who first recognized the recording. They also bought property and planned to return.
When I was there before, we were in the village for one day. This time, I'll be there for 16, 17 days. And so I am going to immerse myself in the culture. I want to learn the people. I want to learn their ways. I want to see who they are.
The song is about burying the dead, but it has survived.
As far as I know, we're the only family that's been able to go back to the very village that they came from through a song.
Echoing off headstones in Harris Neck. New beginnings in Senehun Gola, uniting a family, past and present. In Harris Neck, Georgia, Andrew Badillo, First Coast News, on your side.
Wow. Just think of that, brother. One song sung by her grandmother, passed down to their mother, and these two gentlemen, who's our cousins, were brought together, and they were able to not only come together, they were able to go across to Africa and meet the village where their people came from.
Yeah, yeah, that's powerful, because when there's the ruach, the spiritual aspect of us, it calls you, it pulls you, it draws you, and we've seen stories like this, and I think now through this awakening, the ruach is starting to draw people back to their beginning, back to their origin. And I hope you notice something. I hope the viewers notice something. Who's documenting us?
Exactly.
And no matter what book you read, no matter what documentary you view, we are not the ones in large numbers chronicling our particular story. And, hopefully we can start to change that, as we start to really navigate through this awakening and really take charge of our narrative, because that's one of the most important parts, brother. If we don't take charge of the narrative, then people can take it, they can hide it, they can do whatever they want to with it.
Those who are controlling the pages of history controls the information, they controls our outcome, they control our future.
Exactly.
But that's what Yah is waking us up to. And you're right. Those who if we don't take up and we don't step out, then somebody else will, and they're gonna paint their picture.
Exactly.
Now, I took the lyrics of that song. Let me see if I put that back up without playing it. Let me see.
During the years,
and I'm get back to the lyrics of the song, if I can bring them up. It was 5 lines of lyrics. Can I get to it? And I ran it through to see what the dialect was. And it was Mindi dialect, but other than that, I asked, was there any linguistic connection to any broken Hebrew?
Mm-hmm.
What I got from chat, that it connected with the same category as the kumbaya of the Gullah Geechee people. In fact, in some areas, it's mentioned in the same song, which was 2 different songs. I don't know why they said that. So I would say, did that? Oh, here we go, right here. Did that had any connection to ancient Hebrew? And it was uncertain. Which how it beat around the bush. Right. I said, okay, let's break down kumbaya, because that's closer and more towards a more, I think, more Bantu, but it still came from, I think, the Western Africa, Ghana area. And this is what I found with that one, because we still connecting clues. I took that story, took that song, and connected to the same people, the Gullah Geechee, with that people went up, and most people don't think they're just in South Carolina, but it went from South Carolina to Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people. In fact, I found out in my family that some of my people that migrated into the Mississippi came from the Gullah Geechee area.
Yeah. And
So-
brother, let me just add something. There's also something called the Gullah Geechee corridor that includes portions of North Carolina and portions of Florida.
Oh, lots of Florida because they're part of the Seminole Indian
Mm-hmm.
during that time. You're right about that. Yeah, we got some more clues to follow. Let's hear how it connects with the Kumbaya, which we all familiar with.
Somebody's crying, Lord. Somebody's praying, Lord.
Kumbaya, created by the Gullah Geechee people that was kidnapped and brought to the coastlands of the Carolinas and Georgia. The song was translated to say, "Come by here, Lord," or "Come by here, my Lord." But the Gullah Geechee people was calling out to something deeper. Kumbaya, 3 syllables that had deep and powerful Hebrew roots. Let's break it down. Now let's look at the ancient Paleo-Hebrew. Syllable by syllable, the meaning of each letter, and see what our ancestors were saying. Kum, Kwawamba. Kwa, meaning rising, appointed time. Wa, nail, secure. Ma, water, movement. Rise up and move at the appointed time. Next, Ba, Ba. Ba, meaning house, family. Ah, meaning strength, ox, head. Enter the house of your people, O mighty one. Next syllable, Yah. The name of the Most High, Yah. Yah, a hand, work. Yah, breath, revelation. The revealed power of Yahweh. Kumbaya isn't just a slave song. It's a cry to the Almighty. It's a statement that says, rise up, enter your people's house, Yahweh. A sacred code disguised in melody, preserved by suffering. A prayer that only the people of the Most High can recognize in these last days. 2 Chronicles chapter 14 says, if my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sins and I will heal their land. You were never meant to forget your language, but now Yah is restoring it to his people. Like, share, and subscribe to Berean Scholar. Help awaken the people of the Most High. Wow.
Yeah.
Breaking down the actual Hebrew, and I got to give thanks to Pastor Richard for helping me with that. Each letter had a meaning, and then when you put them together, that tells you a lot. Enter the house of your people, Almighty One. Wow. Enter the house of the people, Almighty One.
That's powerful.
The name, Yahweh, the one who exists, the breath of revelation, reveal your power, Yahweh. Our people came over singing songs, and you know, once I dug in some of the history. I'm gonna take this down, put us back up. Yeah, I dug into some of the history and saw that when the initial slave war started, the rice crop was the major one. So they went to certain areas of Africa to pick up certain people. And one of the areas they went to was Sierra Leone, that area. And because there was what rice, the gold rice, or gold, forgot the name of the rice they was popular there, but they knew that those people knew how to maintain and grow rice.
Yeah, you are absolutely correct, brother. And also, if I can add to that, we have to put in context. Each colony had its own staple, and that staple was actually its weight in a monetary sense, its weight in gold. So
Yes.
in Carolina, rice was the staple crop, whereas Virginia, tobacco was the staple crop.
Rice and tobacco, you're right.
And then also too, a little bit of background on South Carolina, the colony. Most of those individuals were transplants, white and enslaved Africans were transplants from the island of Barbados. So once they, arrived there, because there was a land issue, like many other colonies, availability of land, and so South Carolina is historically called the colony of a colony. And so, yeah, like you said, rice was their number one staple that they used. And there was a time up to about 39 or so, around the Stonewall Rebellion, it was a black majority in South Carolina.
And I got on the map here, and that majority, and see, we'll get at that too, because like you said, rice, tobacco, the Virginia to the mid South, we would say, let's just say mid South, and South Carolina, rice, tobacco, then cotton came in, and most people, all people know is cotton, but cotton came in on the latter part, and then the cotton gin was invented, and boom, there was a big demand for that.
Exactly.
So, but when it came to the initial influx of the people being exported, we know first came from Portugal and Maine, but the first stop from Portugal and Maine was right here. Can you see my mouse here?
Yeah, I see it. Yes.
This is the Cape, but they dropped off a lot of people from Spain and Portugal in this area, and what we just got to talk about is Sierra Leone. Guys, guess what Sierra Leone mean? Sierra is mean in translation mountain. Leon is lion, the mountain of the lion mountain, the mountain of the lion. Guess what's populated that area? A lot of our ancestors populated that area. Most of the people in that area, if I brought up the haplogroup map, are E1B1A.
Yep.
Now they're not connected to the Bantu language, but they're still E1B1A. So they're migrations from our people that are brought over to these lands, but they came from someone else. We'll connect those dots later on. But these people who are connecting with people we talked about last time, who were in the Central and Southern Africa, also had the same haplogroup. Here in Lion, the Mountain of the Lion, Sierra Leone. And this is where most of the what is it, the golden, they used to call it golden rice, but what's it? Gola rice. Gola rice. Because it's the areas where the woman who knew the song, she from a country, I think it's called Gola, which we get Gola Geechee. So
yeah. And brother, if you could just zoom out like you had it, I want to point something out for the viewers.
Okay.
So yes, so just to set some context too, as we talk about our ancient Israelite people, the Portuguese were the first to establish their forts throughout the regions of West Africa, from Senegal all the way down to to Angola.
So
And
right here came all the way down to here, and first here.
Yes, every place along the coastal regions, they were the first to set up a fort. I think that's important too for context on the timeline.
Right. What's that? There's an island off here too.
St. Thomas or South
Thomas.
America.
There you go. Right here. Right
Mhm.
here. So, but let's guess that we'll come back to that on our part 3.
Yeah, I don't want
But
to
it's a lot of dots to connect.
Yes.
And I think the Most High, we got people like Benaya and Pastor Richard, who have done some of the lessons on how these people come in and they connect. So when they connected these songs back to this area, that tribe that knew that song that woman was singing in Georgia, and she didn't know the words, what the words meant. The tribe was in Gullah, in Sierra Leone.
Right.
Sierra Leone meaning mountain lion. I think Brother Richard can join us right now, and we're getting ready to call you to stand, brother out. Pastor Richard, are you there?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you. We're building the case here of connecting clues of our people, and how we have sometimes we failed to, when we was younger, to listen to our elders. They were telling us stuff that had clues that would help us find where our people came from. And for some reason, some of us went around in a stupor, and some are still today. We fail to not care or not want to know, because there's like I played a video earlier. We got people who are well off and have financial resources, but they still don't want to know or don't want to research who they are and where they come from.
Yeah, and the thing that we take lightly, and it's by design, is heritage, because of how the scriptures have been taught to us. Right? You wouldn't think that heritage is important. The way that we've been deceptively taught is that Christ is our heritage. My bloodline is defined through Christ. The color of his blood is red. So it doesn't matter, salvation, and that is calculated, right? So when you really start going through West Africa, I saw you guys going through the coast there, so Tome, as you guys touched on the different not British, but Portuguese territories. And these are the same areas that our ancestors were sent to from Spain and Portugal. And that's the disconnect that many have, because when the way that we've been institutionalized to thinking, you think of Spain and Portugal, you're thinking about the 1948ers, you're thinking
Correct.
about more of a, if you want to use the term, darker tone Jews per se, but not us. When you think about the Spanish Inquisition, you're not thinking about us, because of, as we talked offline, that 9th century, so much happened during that 8th and 9th century. The Khazarians, right? And as you see the Khazarians come on the scene, you see a big shift to the very things that we understand with those primary pillars of what constitutes a nation, ultimately establishes heritage, land, family, and tongues. So you see that how they began to invade. I'm not going to say migrate. That's just a watered down term. They invaded, so they took over, and they were very instrumental with the Moors being conquered, because they lent over 40,000 soldiers to help defeat the Moors, right? So they created the term Ashkenazi. They created the term Sephardic. All of that occurred during that 9th century. Then they also created their language, which my brother probably know this. They refer to it as medieval Hebrew. They also refer to it as the Masoretic points. This is where you get into the Nukud system. They established all of these things, but one thing when you start reading some of their old sources, they confirmed that our people were speaking Hebrew, ancient Hebrew, to the
Right.
point that the missionaries had to learn.
Right.
Exactly.
And those are some of the things that they don't point out. And last point, just to tie into your point that you made, when you look at some of the maps, you'll see Hebrew expressions. You'll see, especially in that one of the maps I have to look in. I got a ton of maps, but in that coast, which was known as the Slave Coast or the Gold Coast, you'll see Levi's name there. You'll see not only just Judah, but you'll see Levi. You'll see reference to Benjamin. Because think about it, that was part of the Southern Kingdom. But you'll also see reference to Ephraim. So it's so important. Like Angola is a very heavily rich population of our people that was there.
Right.
And guess what? Slave ships.
Exactly.
So it's in family, for those that are watching, I've done it. All of us done it. We're all guilty of it. When your elders trying to give you some key pieces of information, you just brush it off. I share with you, elder, that if I could go back over and do it again,
Yes.
I would record every word that my grandmother shared, because I didn't realize that I was just I'm staring at a generation of slaves. I just never thought about it. And so language is so important. And that's what helped me solve the writings on the pews. Not all the writings, because some of them are written with certain signs, but I was able to transliterate key portions of that pew. Because again, going back to, as my brother pointed out, with the Portuguese territories, when you start understanding the Israelites that was enslaved from Spain and Portugal, they had to take the label Ladino. Ladino would refer to originally Spanish speaking Negroes, and they spoke multiple languages. So we have to get away from the English process of history, even with these key words, and we can really start unpacking the footprints, as you guys were laying out, of the migrations of our ancestors, as you pointed out, with Sierra Leone, the mountain, lion.
Right.
You know what I mean? So great discussion, and I just hope and pray, guys, those that are watching, share the video, take notes, because not everything is going to be spoon fed to you from a perspective of listing every source. Because sometimes we want things to be so laid out easily, so that way, and it reduces you from having to do any participation.
Right.
So it reduces the time that you sacrifice. So this requires, if you really want this information, if you really want to go back and study, you're going to have to invest time and write down these sources, write down the notes that that was already shared before I even came on here. Elder Gibson, you gave some great information about the different key to the different colonies, from rice, to tobacco, to sugar. And that kind of helps paint a picture of who's who and where and why they had us in certain territories.
Exactly.
Based off of that. And case in point, Harriet Tubman.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that she's from the same area. And that's why she was so good with the outdoors and navigating through the woods, because of where she was taken from, as far as the ancestors. So she knew how to maneuvers rather, through, like, what we would call the Congos. This right here was nothing to them.
Right.
And last point that you made was about the population of South Carolina. What people don't know, at that time, there was 5,000 white people, or Europeans, whatever labels we want to label them, 5,000 in comparison to over 50,000 of us.
Yeah.
And the sad thing about it is, most of those plantations only had a handful of people that was enslaving or controlling on the average, 150 to 200 of us.
Mm-hmm.
And they were lying about a lot of things in their publication because whites started being apprehensive of coming to Charleston because they were scared of how we really were the majority.
Yeah,
exactly.
So they had to make up stories like they were winning, that the war, the Gullah Geechee War that they called the Seminole War, just to kind of take away from who was really dominating the area for over 100 years. So I just thought I'd point that out, that was a great piece of information that you shared. And I'm gonna say this again, family. I was listening, from the car. I was listening all the way up to, got my plate in front of me. The moment I walked in, a plate was handed to me. And I was like, man, these guys are sharing some great information. So if I'm able to retain, come on, family, you guys should be able to grab this information, because these brothers have invested a lot of time and effort away from their families, because these two brothers could be enjoying their families right now. Am I right, guys?
True.
And so what's being presented here right now is only a pinch of what the information that they have accumulated because of the time, effort, and research that it takes. So every good source you see them share, they went through a lot of bad sources just to be able to discern between the good sources and even take some of the good information out of the bad sources.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I want to just say great job, guys. And, if you see my screen go into black, that's because I got to finish my plate.
I understand that, brother.
But I'm listening and I'm following you guys' leads. But again, I just wanted to just reiterate the things that you guys already covered, and just to say to the people, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. It makes a world of a difference. It doesn't cost you anything. Don't be disrespectful when you come inside someone's house, right? Take the shoes off. You know what I mean? Leave it by the door and say hello to everyone within the house. Speak to the people, the owners of the house, the leaders of the house.
Hallelujah.
So that's what you do here. Hit that like button. Drop a comment inside the chat, but also, even at the conclusion of what's being presented, go into the comment section and just type a comment there, because all of that helps with what is called the impressions. The more you do that, the more it's going to put program the algorithms to put this video into recommendations in other spaces. Because we should not be just preaching to the choir.
Right.
Our goal is to reach outside of our community and do like they did in Acts. Continue to allow the assembly to grow, of so many coming back to the Most High daily. I yield.
Thank you, brother. And we'll call you back to stand later on, give you a chance to get yourself in and get adjusted. We'll call you back to the witness stand pretty later on then.
All right. Well, I'm listening. So when you see my screen come back on, that means that I'm good.
And
I love you guys. I'm here. I'm listening to you guys.
Well, we love you too, and thank you, brother.
So I'll be here. I'm not dropping off. I'm just going to turn my screen off because I just don't want to be rude.
All right.
And just to recap, we have followed those clues from the first two stories we initially talked about. The song that the lady sung to her daughter, which her daughter in turn sung to her daughter, and somebody recorded it and they traced it back to the Sierra Leone area and traced it back to that tribe. And we've also found out that tribe was E1B1A and they have connection to our people. We also found that most of the people that we know that come to these states, and before I call Brother Lau to your club, we're going to find this aspect. Most of the people that came to this land came through that port of Charleston.
This is actually one of the
What? Started too soon. And we're going to talk about that because Charleston and that migration that we talked about earlier, because of money, because of land, was a major, more than half of the people came in. Now we remember that the slave trade, slave war started in the 1500s, 1619 and before, and it was legally supposed to end at 1808, but it didn't. They smuggled more people in. Then you had certain places were breeding slaves, and it was still a big money crop. So we were part of a money maker for them too. But let's listen to this, and then we'll go to you, brother.
This is actually one of the best documented entry points of the entire slave trade in North America, and the numbers are very striking. The short answer: historians consistently estimate, open quote, about 40%, roughly 45% of all Africans brought directly into what became the United States entered through the port of Charleston, South Carolina, close quote. Yes, nearly half of all enslaved Africans who arrived in mainland British North America first stepped onto American soil there. Why Charleston was so central? Image Charleston was not just a random port. It functioned as the primary slave trading hub of British North America for over a century, about 1670 to 1808. Several things made it ideal. One, rice and indigo economy. The Carolina colony built massive plantations growing rice, indigo, later cotton. Rice cultivation required extremely specialized agricultural knowledge, and British planters specifically targeted people from the rice coast of West Africa, Senegambia, Sierra Leone, Gambia, Guinea.
Back to where we just came from, same area.
Yep.
Those populations already knew tidal irrigation and swamp farming. Tash 2, geographic advantage. Charleston's deep natural harbor, direct Atlantic access. Proximity to plantations made it easier than ports like Boston, Philadelphia, or New York. 3, a redistribution center. This part is very important. Charleston was not only an import port, it was a distribution hub. Enslaved Africans were sold and then transported inland to North Carolina, Virginia, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana.
Now, you see those just a few of the states that they migrated from. North Carolina, Virginia, you mentioned that. Virginia, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana. And those of you in the chat, if that touches you, put a one in the chat. Your ancestor was migrated from those areas that came through the Charleston port. One out, I guess it was over 50%, so 1 out of every 2. So,
yeah.
So many enslaved people recorded in other states actually first landed in Charleston. The actual numbers: scholars reconstruct shipping manifests, insurance records, and port registries, especially the Transatlantic Slave Trade Database and South Carolina shipping records. Typical historical estimates: category, approximate number, Africans transported to all of British North America, future U.S., 388,000. Africans landed in Charleston, 150,000 plus. That equals roughly open 38 to 43% of all direct African arrivals to the United States, close quote.
Now, those numbers he just quoted are numbers that they had verified through those records that they can find. There's a lot more that came in other than that too.
Exactly.
Those just the ones they found on the books.
Exactly.
It was more smothered even after 1808. So I just wanted to put that in there.
Yeah. For comparison, all New England ports combined received far fewer. The specific landing site image: most arrivals disembarked at Gadsden's Wharf, built 1767. Modern research shows, open quote, nearly half of all enslaved Africans who ever entered the United States passed through that single wharf, close quote. Today, that exact location is where the International African American Museum now stands. A key historical detail: after 1808, the U.S. legally banned the transatlantic slave trade. But Charleston still remains central because illegal smuggling continued, the domestic slave trade expanded,
Enslaved populations were sold from Charleston to the Deep South, the Second Middle Passage.
The Second Middle Passage. That's when you will see hundreds and hundreds of our ancestors that was in fact, there's one here in this area where I'm at that came from Cameron Plantation, and they walked them from Cameron Plantation here in North Carolina down to Lower Alabama and Georgia. Hundreds of slaves. Put them on wagons and load them and drag. I mean, there was a migration from up here from tobacco down to the cotton area.
Right.
So, in fact, I see somebody who said Southampton, one of the many biggest plantation down in it was southern Georgia or southern South Carolina was the Hampton Plantation.
Yeah, and if I could, brother,
go ahead.
Some additional context. So that percentage is about 40%, a little bit over 40% Charleston. Charleston was the economic hub for enslavement activity. However, every coastal place, so even when we go back to the colonial period, all 13 colonies held slaves.
Yes.
So every coastal period, you had the disembarkation of kidnapped human beings and entering into those different areas. When you go to, let's say, if we look at Virginia, closer to Hampton, not Jamestown, is where the 1619 White Lion landed. But if you go to North Carolina, Wilmington and some of the other coastal areas, they have, and you're probably more familiar with this, those waterway navigations from the coast to the inland. And some of those areas were used to drop off our kidnapped people. And so with South Carolina, and then here's another thing too I want to mention, because you touched on this, and the date is still up there on the screen. So yes, United States had officially abolished the international slave trade that was to commence in 1808, but it did not stop the black market aspect, because Mobile Bay, Alabama, 1861-ish or so, last reported slave ship. And then let me say this real quick while I'm thinking, for those who question, well, we don't have any slave ships that still exist. We only have about 3 ships from the 18th and 19th century that still exist, period, in the world, or at least in the United States. The USS Constitution being one of them. Many of them are at the sea level, beneath the sea.
Exactly.
Many of them just did not survive. But with that 1808 and something else you mentioned about the migration and the breeding farms. So
breeding farms.
Please understand this. This was a real thing. You had, beginning around 1810, now notice, a couple of years after abolition of the international trade, the domestic trade, where thousands of people coming from Virginia, Maryland, South Carolina were sent to different parts of the Deep South. And we know what the king crop was. That was cotton.
Yep.
And so there's so much of our history that is just embedded in what I call mass confusion. Confusion. So when you have a breeding farm, you really don't know who your parents are. I have a second great grandmother. She told her grandchildren, my grandfather was one of them. My grandmother didn't know who her parents were. So think about the context of all of these things as we're kind of walking through. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you're right. You're right, brother. Because when I was going through this, I went through this lesson with my wife before I brought it up here, because when I was finding information out, for example, the first video I showed, the lady who was singing the song that a great grandmother gave to her, and that the two gentlemen, the brother and uncle, they was only able to have that information because in that area there was a concentration of people from that Sierra Leone area because it was mainly rice in that area. That way, if you saw that overview, it was all swamp land. So they kept people from that area together. That didn't happen a lot.
Right.
Some places down they did. So yes, things got passed on. In fact, there was one historian that I cut out parts of the film because it was longer. They took the basket weaving that went on that they was doing down in South Carolina in the Gulf area and took it to Sierra Leone and showed them the baskets. And these people didn't know anything about slavery. They didn't know anything about our people here. They was telling them as they were going, and they were saying, "Yeah, this is our basket." And, this came from America, and they saw that these skills were still passed on.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And that's and I'm gonna see if I could contact Godfrey with the Gullah Geechee tours. He and I are really good friends, and maybe he could come on here and share some additional information on that, because that is a great story. Because I saw that story probably a couple of weeks ago about the woman that you mentioned, and that she was just singing it as like a lullaby,
right.
And come to find out that lullaby extended all the way back to here. And even while you guys are still dealing with the Sierra Leone, I want to share something with you guys. This source right here. Right, I got a couple of books. This book right here just so happened I spent like $2 or $3 for this book at a garage sale, and it was an old white couple that was selling, and I saw this book there, and I was like, "Hey!" I saw it's another book too. Um, but what makes this book interesting is, how we hear about the limba, and you guys familiar with Freetown, which is
Right.
Sierra Leone, right? But let me read something out of this book, right? And listen to what they say here. That's occupying who's occupying Freetown. But it says the question of tribal administration in Freetown has several times brought to a head antagonism between the Creoles and the tribal population. The operation of the ordinances was extended to the different tribes as they asked for it, and by 1914, the tribal rulers had been recognized for 7 tribes: Kru, Fula, Mende, Temne, Loco, Limba, Fula, Torodor. But the key is you see Limba and you see Mende. Those are 2, and Fula, which is still making reference to the Falashins. But we don't hear anything about the Limba being in Sierra Leone.
Now, see, I saw that mentioned in that writing where it was spelled Limba.
Yes, that's still the Limba. But
See,
you really don't hear much about it. See, in this book right here, and what's powerful about when we start understanding how Christianity played a major role with many of our ancestors going into Islam, is because even at Sierra Leone, right, you had the Christians complaining that how our ancestors didn't want to embrace Christianity. It's in this book right here. The book is titled West African City, A Study of Tribal Life in Freetown, right? And you had the Christians complaining, right? Because our people didn't want to receive white Jesus. I'm just paraphrasing, but they didn't want to receive white Jesus, so they started gravitating over to Islam. So I want to make sure you guys, for those that are listening, what you hear over here in the States, how many of our brothers and sisters gravitated over to the Nation of Islam, especially when you look at the 60s, 50s and 60s, same thing. Many of our people got fed up hearing about a white Jesus. Even today, we hear the same thing. You get tied up. I'm tired of hearing about a white Jesus. Guess what? That's not new. Right. And in this book, it shows it reflects that, and last thing that really struck me about this is, it's in my other book, because I purchased a couple of books, right? And at the end of the other book had writings that was similar to the writings on some of the writings on the pews, some of the signs. And I got it from just a regular garage sale of some old they probably transitioned by now, but they were very senior, a white couple, and they were just basically getting rid of everything. And they apparently was historians, and I was able to get this book for a couple of dollars. This is another book.
You just happen to be there.
Exactly. I just pull up.
Yeah, we know who.
It's nothing but the Most High. So I ended up buying
Nothing but
this.
the Most High.
Because I remember I purchased this book, another book, and this nice. It's in our dining room right now. It's a nice portrait, like a metal portrait that they got from over in Africa. Nice heavy frame and everything. I purchased that too, and it's right inside our dining room. But the key was this right here. This book and the other book really has some really key information. Just a little bit that I shared, just that the couple of sentences that I read, connects a lot of the dots about, as you guys pointed out, with not Freetown, but Sierra Leone, and Freetown is the capital at that time. I'm not sure if it's still the capital, but yeah, I just thought
I'm glad you
share
brought that
with
in,
you
brother.
guys.
Yeah.
And so when you tied it in, even what you guys was discussing South Carolina, Savannah, Georgia, and South Carolina, they're sister states.
Yeah.
Right. So what you see happening in South Carolina, you'll see it in Savannah, Georgia, too. And with those baskets, I'm telling you, we got some of the baskets here, and it's the same straw that our ancestors used all the way back while they were in Egypt with Moses. When you really start unpacking that history and just seeing, like, man, we were still able to retain some of those things. And there's a book, and Benaiah has the book. He has a list of names, right, of all of the Gullah Geechee, the words and everything, and he was able to show that like 90% of the words there were Hebrew. So it's so much history that we just just really on the surface of that they just really tried to hide. And even with the names, like when you was reflecting on Kumbaya, Kum, right? That's Hebrew for rise up, to rise. Right? Ba, house, but ba, right? Bayath. But then you have Baya also means body, structure. So when they're singing Kumbaya, they're saying to the Father, raise up this body. Because if they didn't meet their quota, many cases, all of them suffered together.
Yeah.
So they were singing that song, raise up this body, Yah, so I can be productive today, so I don't become a burden on the rest of my family. So yeah, it's so much history. I yield. I know I'm
And it's all, and brother, like you said, it's all connecting the clues, connecting those dots together, and like just you finding that book and finding that page that connected that language. I mean, those things what we need to do when we ask, we seek, and we knock. We gotta ask the right questions. In fact, I wish I'd asked the right questions to my elders growing up, just like you. I wish I sat and asked the right question, because that's how you get wisdom, by asking the right questions. I didn't know it. I didn't know it.
But you know what? The Most High has a great sense of humor, because my uncle, one of the founding pastors of Savannah, the church in Savannah, James Wesley Carr, He's my great great uncle, and to have you know his own relative to be able to translate, do something that no one was able to do, and that's transliterate some of those pews
Oh
and
yeah.
give the actual message that's on it. You couldn't make this up. You would think that this is something for a movie or something like that, but while others were trying to slander that place, and I'm not sure if you guys were in Awakening at that time, but there was groups, that teamed up. You had the Christian groups teaming up with Catholic groups, teaming up with the conscious community, doing everything that they can to slander that place.
Wow.
And even to the point that their own sources was confirming what I was saying was true, but they did everything. If they can't, it's kind of like they were taking the Jewish or the 1948ers playbook. If you can't beat them, lie on them. If you can't beat them, make it so that way no one want to listen to them.
Yeah.
And they did everything that they could try to do. In the end, the Most High had the final say, because everything is restored, is preserved, and I mean they're thriving. But to be able to explain what's on those pews, and going down and learning the history, just taking that journey, because it took me learning and studying a lot of languages, but guess what? It took me going back over the Spanish Inquisition.
Wow.
Wow.
Now I'm gonna. You get that. I'm gonna get back. I want you to close this out with the pews. We don't get deep, because that's more breadcrumbs that our ancestors left for us. That's a major breadcrumb. And just like since you brought it up, I brought this up about the bastard. Then Brother Gibson.
The story of this
Fair use.
nation
Fair
begins
use.
with the land which is strangely similar on the coast.
Man, if I knew you needed that, man, I could have got you just some straight my own footage from the people directly.
The vast salt marshes and sea islands of the Carolinas and Georgia are mirrors of the mangrove swamps and wide rivers of West Africa. It's clear the lives of Gullah and African are bound to the land, to the sea, and to each other. When a Gullah man in a South Carolina tidal creek tosses his net, another man in a river in Sierra Leone draws his in. Here in Africa were born the legacies that have passed down to their American cousins. And the channels of history plied by the Gullah and the Sierra Leonean lead back their winding courses to a common source. Over 4 centuries have passed since the earliest Portuguese navigators sailed past this part of West Africa. The Green Mountains prowling the coast reminded them of the king of the beasts, and they named the land Sierra Leone, the mountains of the lion. The people of Rockbonko village in Sierra Leone make coil baskets in a style Sierra Leoneans call shukubla. Her name is Kadiatu, a woman of the Temne people of northern Sierra Leone. She and her neighbors know nothing of the long years of hardship for African Americans, of slavery, Jim Crow, civil rights. In fact, only now is Kadiatu learning that many Americans are black.
So then go there, then take slave from Sierra Leone and carry them go yonder. Then born picking. So say now, then say, don't turn American. But some of them, still she make blind Some still they eat rice with platter. Then get all this custom where the first people been bring from Africa. Up to now, although it don't take 200 years.
This is the beginning of an understanding about the connection with family they never knew existed. Okadiatu and her neighbors see for the first time a basket made by the Gullah people in America. A basket the Gullah call a family. Marveling at its workmanship, they point out its similarities and differences. In their line,
I just wanted to show that part when he showed them the basket of the Gullah people who they didn't know anything about, and they looked at, hey, this is just like our basket.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the things too is you look at what I call the cultural breadcrumbs. You know, because there's going to be some cultural continuity. Slavery didn't break us. It damaged us. It damaged us. Don't get me wrong. It didn't break us because even if you look today, the Gullah Geechee corridor, that's probably one of the most visible representations of our Africanisms, if you will, what we brought over from the continent. And music is another.
Yes.
It's the rhythm of the drum, you know? And a lot of times, if you just listen to different genres of music, you can hear the elements, if you will, of Africa coming out. And I'm just using Africa as a broader term. But yeah, man, we have these breadcrumbs, and it's how do we pay attention to the breadcrumbs? And so, for instance, we started out talking about South Carolina, some of the visual things that we could see with the culture, you know, the basket weaving, intricate process. Then we talk about a song that has survived. This is the 21st century now. That song has still survived. Pastor Kelly is a descendant of someone from the Savannah First African Baptist Church. And I'll say, Pastor Kelly, I had a chance. We took some students to that church. They didn't allow us to take pictures then. I wish they would have. But when I saw it with my own eyes, I was like, I was speechless, to be honest with you.
It's like you can literally see and feel the message, even though you may not have been able to understand the writings, but you know that there was a encouraging message on those pews and warnings for anyone that made it there for safety.
Right.
You know, it's incredible. And actually, I'm going to plan a trip this year, you know, with our ministry. And if you want to, you know, be part of that, we all can go ahead and plan a trip down there, you know, and set up a program down there, you know, just to go there and just kind of run, you know, have a service down there. So I am working on something right now to solidify a date, and we could go down there and just and also just kind of visit some of the I would say the historical landmarks for our community, like some of those dungeons and things like that we can at least get a visual, as well as the slave graveyard,
right?
The slave burials, which is sad, but yeah.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. So I'll look forward to you posting information about that.
A lot of people in the chat saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And just to that point, remember the other book I said I got? I'm going to put it up on the screen, and you guys going to see what territory that just what you guys are speaking on, even though my camera's reversed.
Yep.
But you see West Africa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
From the Sierra Leone down to the Congos. Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm going to turn to a page here with some symbols rather.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what help you uh, be able to look at some of their scripts on the pews, right? I see.
This is what led me to. Oh, I'll leave it up. This was what led me to what is called the incivity language, which is a language of symbols, right? Like a lot of the, you guys been, was coming up in the 80s and the 90s. You remember the medallion, and you have the patterns, the African patterns around your
Yep.
shirts and stuff like that. Those signs are actually from the incivity language.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? The Gullah people tied into that, which we all connected to the Gullah people, because we're the same people. The reason why they pushed the term Gullah on our people is to say like those are the ones that fought against the slave owners.
Right.
The white people use that as a term of identifying who's the troublemaker. But we're all the same people. But yeah, this here, and this is more in this book. But I just want to show you guys, and this is just me getting it off, purchasing it for a couple of dollars, right?
Yeah.
This
That
in the
came
book, the other book right here.
That came from that same book.
It's
On the
two different
same
books.
place. From the
Same place. This book
Wow.
and this book.
For the price of one meal, you can get knowledge to take you back to your heritage.
And the
And these
lesson,
are-
and the lesson: do not pass up a garage sale.
I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you. You just never know. And just so happened, and I know it's not just so happened, it's the Most High, because at that time, I'm trying to figure out what is on these pews. And I've taken tons of trips down there, studying. Well, you guys know, you guys, teachers and all, and, you guys know what you have to go through trying to get access to libraries and things like that, sitting in lectures just so you could get access to that library. I was doing all kinds of stuff, but I'm just here to say that when, family, this is not coincidental, that, my brothers here, they shared a lot of information, and I'm sure they can share the same stories that other sources that the Most High led them to. Because I never thought that pulling at a garage sale, and like we would say, white folks, you know what I mean? That's how they say that. I'm going to a garage sale of white people. And I was just like, the Most High just pressed on me, hey, stop there. And I stopped. And I got 2 jewels here that's priced. It's technically 3 because I got a picture that's hanging up to this day.
Yeah.
So, and these are priceless.
Yes, they are.
You just never know. And to the listening family, one thing I want to encourage people is, make sure you pay attention even to the little nuggets that you may have in your family. Because you just never know what you're sitting on. And think of it this way. I'm going to make an assumption that at least some of us have been through this. You lose an elder, grandparent, or parent, but you are charged with going through and cleaning out the home. And then sometimes as you're cleaning out things, you start to discover pieces of their lives that you never knew about. And then that leads you to start asking questions and then trying to find out more. So this journey of the awakening, it's going to be like that. You're going to find some little nuggets here and there, but it's what you do with those nuggets to try to learn more.
That's right. That's right. But brother, you want to go back and talk about the names?
Yes,
That's part
sir.
of those clues. That's part of that clue.
So if you go to the next slide. So for those that don't know, in addition to teaching history, I've always been into family history and genealogy. And it was 1990, I got out of the military. And if you all remember the 90s, it was kind of like a cultural renaissance happening in the Black community. Music, X was, it was just exploding. But
the cross colors, the used jeans,
it was just it was hitting us all at once. But I know myself and some of my close friends, we also just wanted to learn more. So what we decided to do, let's just individually, everybody study their family history. And so without going into too much detail, I want to focus on naming patterns in the Black community. Names that, we can see documented in the 19th century, so early 1800s, all the way to the 20th century. So one of the first names is, as I started doing research, talking to the elders, my great grandfather had a younger sister named Flaywilla. I didn't know what to do with that name. But as I started to study, I said, wait a minute, maybe this is one of those compound words, these compound names where you're taking two different names and putting them together. And what's the meaning? Well, there was a professor named Newbell Niles Puckett. He was born like 1895-ish or so, died in the 1960s. But in the 1930s, he was doing research on Black names in America, more specifically, Black names in the South. His work, he just compiled like close to, I believe, well over 300,000 names in the Black community. It wasn't until after his death in 1967, a guy by the name of Murray Heller picked up his research and all the studies he had done, and in 1975 actually published a book, Black Names in America. But I found the name Flaywilla in the book, and in part, it goes back to the Mende people. So people that we're talking about.
Same area.
And then also it has a meaning in the Bantu. And so, but in short, what it's saying is something that blossoms. And so it's a feminine name, but it can't, flay means flower. And then the willa is giving purpose or destiny, but Flaywilla, something that comes into its own destiny. And then I said, you know what, let me try to see if there's any reference in Hebrew, because sometimes when we look at the transliterations of things and the meaning of things, let me just see. And so there is a Hebrew parallel to the meaning. I'm not saying that these two words, Flaywilla and then Pelaya, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, it literally translates wonders of Yah's will. And so we're still speaking about destiny and purpose. And I'm like, wow, it just kind of blew me away. But as I was studying more, the photo is my great grandfather's younger sister. But through studying additional records, their grandmother, born in 1818, was also named Flaywilla. So once again, the importance of naming patterns from one generation to the next. Okay, if you could go to the next slide. So here are 5 sisters, and their grandfather reputedly was, kidnapped from the Gold Coast, still trying to research to verify, came through South Carolina before migrating into Alabama, where his daughter, my great-great-grandmother, was born, and then eventually the family made it to Louisiana. But the eldest, her given name was Savannah, but they called her Banny, sometimes spelled Benny. But Benny in the Hebrew, child, or, son of children. Then Mary, and then Itha, but there was a Hebrew word, or is a Hebrew word, Ita, which means with her, or some aspect of representing time. Now, Emma, of course, there is a Germanic understanding of that particular name, universal, but in the Semitic, mother, Ema. And I have an asterisk by that one, so I really don't know. Then this was really the one that stuck out, Virginia Sank Ona. There is a village in northern Ghana called St. Anna. And when you look at, the history of the migration and dispersal of ancient Israelites, moving into different parts of West Africa, when the slave trade happened in the northern part of Ghana, where this village St. Anna is, it was heavily raided by slave traders. And then they would march those people from the northern part of Ghana down into the southern part along the coastal regions. And then the last daughter, the youngest child, her name was Ari. And what I found from the Hebrew transliteration, lion, but the Bantu, the Yoruba, power and strength. And so, these were actual names. So for the older daughters, it was the nicknames that pointed back to the continent. But the youngest daughter, this was her only name, was Ari, or her given name. She didn't have a nickname. And once again, representing lion, or from the Bantu and the Yoruba, power and strength. Okay, if you could go to the next one. And the photo I have here, this is to the right, the woman Amanda. It was her father that reputedly was from the Gold Coast of Africa, but she was the one that gave the names to all of her children. Now, her grandchildren and great-grandchildren continue to have different types of names or variations. Ona, what I found with regards to the Hebrew, represents a time or a season. And so Ona, these were actual names of her descendants.
And real quick, Brother Lyle,
Yes.
Ona is also in the Hebrew Anah, that ties into marriage as well.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you.
And where you see Sebi in ancient Hebrew, Shabbat means turn back to.
Turn back to. So, family, I'm taking notes.
Yeah, because that's it. That's where you get the word convert.
Mm-hmm.
It transliterates to convert,
Mm-hmm.
and the way that we are taught about conversion from a Western mindset is to a religion, but actually it means to turn back to.
Turn back to you. Wow.
So we're turning back to the Father.
Okay. And then the last one, OC, I'm still working on that one. It may or may not have any type of meaning. I've seen some reference to different Niger Congo languages, but I'm still kind of working on that one. But one of the
Real quick, guess what? That could be Aki or Akya, right? It could be, the brother
or sister.
or sister.
Wow.
Okay. And that's when you go to translation to Hebrew, ancient Hebrew, the subtle difference.
Okay.
So what I see here, if you notice, I'm paying attention to the consonants, right?
Yeah.
And the I is the, especially when you construct in languages, they also call that the constructive vowel, reconstructive vowel.
Okay.
That, so if you notice, I'm just putting the I and I'm going to the original pronunciations of the word. So when you show flower, right, by the time we get to the Greeks, they added that PH sound, or that F sound rather, come from the word focus. So, but when you look at it from a Hebrew, like Ama, mother, as you have it here, that is correct, right? So instead of Ema, it was Ah, starting with the Alap, the very first letter.
Okay.
And when you see here, Ata, even though it says Itha or Atha, sign, also, when you see the first letter of the Hebrew Alabayat, which is the Alap, and the last letter, the Tha, you bring them together, that spells the word sign. But it also can transliterate to you, thee, they, thou. So it could point to people, or it can actually point to the word sign.
Okay.
It's good.
This is great.
Mhm.
This is great.
All right, just thought I saw some of the words. I thought give some because I see some of the, what you did is you hit it right on the nail. Um, this is what how we have to kind of like reverse engineer and take it all the way
Versus,
back to the Hebrew versus
yeah,
how we've been taught to try to take it back to the other languages because
Exactly.
they knew our name. So oftentimes they'll just add few letters here and there to try to mix the name up. And
Right.
oftentimes too, what we would do, just as as you migrate, you start taking on sometimes the like they would say the patois, you know what I mean, of those areas, and it start that accent start being applied to our language, and you'll see that, and that helps you establish, as you pointed out here, the pattern.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. I appreciate that, Pastor. I appreciate it. And yeah, so these were just a few of the names. And so for the listening family, sometimes when we do our own family research, as we go back in time, getting closer to the early 20th century and then the late 19th century, we may find that our ancestors had what we call peculiar names. And those are
yes,
things that we need to pay attention to. And also, if you still have elders living today, 70s or 80s, but they remember the elders from when they were children, I would say now is the time to talk to them.
Oh, tell me about it, man.
Try to pull the stories that they remember.
Yeah.
Just pull the stories that they remember. Everyone, for the most part, I assume has a cell phone, so you can record it right there.
exactly. Because that could be valuable wisdom. And thank you for. Go ahead, Pastor.
And I was going to say, tying this in, and I'm going to loosely translate this, Pastor, so please forgive me. But why is this day so different than the others with the first Pesach? It was a tradition that was started. And with the Black community, some of our traditions have been lost. But I think now the ground is ready for harvesting, so we can start to reclaim aspects of our traditions.
That's good, brother.
Oh, you did a great job. I mean, great job.
And I'm glad you shared that, because if we don't talk to our elders, we're losing knowledge, and that our people are destroyed by the lack of knowledge. It's not because we didn't have it; we rejected it. So we don't have to reject it now. We need to do that. And I wish I'd have known these things, brother. Like you dug in your family's names.
Yeah.
When I was in the ministry, I had a college ministry on the college that I graduated from, and a lot of my guys that I ministered to, one of the ones that was there faithfully, he had a Hebrew name. I didn't know it. In fact, I was gonna bring him on. Look at the name. Ray. And he's from Goldsboro, South Carolina. His family is Geechee. And they named him Ray. So I didn't know it at the time, but now we need to be careful and be mindful when we run across people.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
So, Pastor Richardson, you're on the witness stand now.
Yeah, I tell you, I'll share a little nugget with you guys that I learned from my grandmother, and I didn't learn it until I followed the breadcrumbs. She kept, she kept trying to explain to me why she sent us down south for the summer. And the tradition of us being sit down south for the summer wasn't because of us getting in trouble. You guys know when you're from up north, you go down south when you get in trouble.
Yeah.
But actually, it was because of First African Baptist Church, right? Because all of us have a connection to it. And what they would do, those because of the suppression, and the threats and the lynchings, many of them fled up north.
Yeah.
To get away from the South.
Yeah.
But what they would do for those that were still here, they would, send their children down to Savannah and also Charleston, right? Is a church out of Charleston that they burnt down, right? Because they were teaching them identity in Hebrew.
Yeah.
Right? So they would send them down to the church so they could learn about that history.
Yep.
And it didn't hit me until after my grandmother had transitioned and my cousin told me to get down to Georgia. He said he's not going to tell me what he saw. And when I got there, man, tears, man. It was tears. That's right, Sister Carol. Gala means redemption, right? That's the Hebrew word. But it just blew my mind. I couldn't even put words to it. I got tears in my eyes when I went there. Here it is. I'm seeing my uncle on the stained glass, and everyone there is saying, "Hey, you look just like him."
I saw the video.
Yeah. I mean, so family, like they express here, if you have some loved ones that are still here, talk to them just to record it. Man, I just, like I said again, I wish I could just go back and just have her tape recorder, and just record everything that she said. I mean, she poured some history. I mean, some history. From being, anyway, let me leave that alone. We share that another time, but I just wanted to just kind of express that little nugget there about how the tradition of us going down south for the summer.
Yeah.
Where did it come from? And it was so that way we could remember where we come from.
Exactly.
So real quick, just to tie it in, because you did a great job with just taking those names of your family. That's great that you did that. I'm gonna try to do some of that, but because of what some of the elders, so many of the elders have transitioned. I know one thing I did do when I went in my history on both sides of my family, Jacob.
A lot of Jacob.
And it wasn't because of some Ashkenazi.
Right.
So here, just real quick, just to tie into what you pointed out, names, family, you hear us say over and over again, names are important. Even our slang, like we'll say yada, yada, yada. That's a Hebrew word. Even them trying to insult us with the word Ebonics.
Yeah.
Ebo.
Yeah.
Ebo.
So anything they try to throw at us as evil, the Most High turn it around for our good. So names, and just to tie into the presentation you shared, Isaiah 44:5, because you guys laid out, did a great job laying out the patterns, migration patterns, right? Isaiah 44:5, this is a key prophecy, and it says, one shall say, I am Yahweh's. Another shall call himself by the name of Jacob, Ya'aquab, and another shall subscribe, in other words, Kathab, right, write, with his hand unto Yahweh, and surname himself by the name of Yashara'al, in other words, Israel. And that's what we're witnessing right now. So many of our brothers and sisters are doing what? Gravitating to Hebrew names. Now, we didn't know what we were doing when we were younger. You guys are, in the 80s and the 90s. Well, really, it's like the 80s thing. You grabbed yourself a Muslim name. I'm not sure if you guys did it down south, but up north, we grabbed ourselves a Muslim name.
Yeah.
And my nickname was Kassan. Go figure, right? But anyway,
Kasan.
yeah, Kasan, or some would say Kasan. So we would hold on to Muslim names,
Yeah.
and for mines, it meant bold, right? Little did I know I was grabbing a name that really meant something, right? But anyway, so I
Yeah.
just wanted to share this here, that the prophecy is here. And it's not just for the day and time that we live in, but when you start looking at the migration patterns of our ancestors, you'll see names right along the path, Hebrew names. All right. So let me fast forward here. This is another example to show that proof here. This is Sudan. This is Sudan. You guys see how that are watching. You see how it stretches across here, even though it's much larger than here. But this gives you an idea why they want to. When I say they, being led by the United States, but it's Israel. Israel is pressing to bomb and exploit all these places for a reason, to erase us and to hijack, the resources there as well, but to erase us. And I just want to share this with you guys, as far as that are watching. Look at here on this map. You see Rabbah.
Yeah.
That's a Hebrew word, right? To cast together. And an example, increase, especially in number. Also to multiply by the myriad increase. We see Sadah. That's a Hebrew letter.
Yep.
Right? Sadah, right? Meaning to sidle off, or a side, figuratively an adversary, side B-side, right? And you'll see this with the associated with the ark as well. When they went to when they went inside, right? So it's so powerful. So you see Sarah, Adaman Ua, which you see here, Adama. Look at this key word here, Yakoba.
Yeah.
We see Bambara, which means it comes from the word Dabara, which means commandment, command, charge.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. And guess what? That's where they many believe is where the Asian language came from, extended from. A lot of these so-called modern rabbis couldn't figure out some of the definition of words, some of the Hebrew words. Guess what they went to? Here. I have the book here. I thought I did. It may be in my other. You know how you guys go. Do it. You have books everywhere, your shelves. But anyway, I just wanted to share this map with you. The slave database. Look at what we see in the slave database. Ancient Hebrew. And family, I'm not trying to. This is not to disrespect anyone. Ancient Hebrew did not have any other vowels but the ah. So look at what we see here. We see bar, ban, ya. And this is just breaking down the word, or the name rather. Bar, air, bana, right? As you see here, to build, establish. We already know what ya means. So bar ba ya, build, repair, make stable your son ya.
Yeah.
All right. So Aman ya. How many times we done said that? Aman ya. Aman, that's the ancient primitive root word that you hear today. Amen. Here's the proof for those that may think that I'm making this up. I'll zoom in so you guys can see. How is it spelled?
Aman.
Aman. So if you hear me say Aman, right, this is not making up any, like many would think, because they are accustomed to hearing the transliteration of it. Amen. is Greek. Aman is the original pronunciation. All right. To build up, support, render, uh, firm, or be firm, faithful, trust, believe, be permanent, to be permanent, to be true or certain. Here's the kicker: to go to the right hand, who sits at the right hand of the Father. So Christianity didn't introduce Christ to our people.
No.
All right. Let's go to another one. Baya. Baya simply means in Yah. We see another one, Allah, Baya.
Yeah.
So many in there. Allah, right? We've been programmed to say Eloah. That's Israeli. That's medieval Hebrew. The
Yeah.
ancient pronunciation is Allah. And what do we see here? Am I making it up? See, they transliterated with the L because they silencing the ah. But guess what? Even how they pronounced it here is incorrect because they had what? They had the patak here. So you're supposed to spell or pronounce this with the hard ah. But look at how they transliterated into L.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying,
Yep.
guys?
Yep.
This is the komets. This is the patak. This is silent. So you pronounce the vowel. It's supposed to be pronounced ah la. But they put ella or ela.
And that's the importance of knowing the ancient language.
Exactly. Exactly. And see, I can read this Israeli stuff, right? And let's see here. I'm just fast forwarding here, guys. And you can see this in the context here. He is my Allah. Yah is the strength in song. He has become my salvation. He is my Allah.
Yeah.
And we see here with the Yah at it, Allah Yah. All right. Let's see another word here. I'm not gonna go through all of this. This is just giving you some context behind it, but I'm not going to explain this.
Every time you brought that up, Pastor, every time you brought that up with the slave ledger that shows the names, it's the scripture to my people who are called by my name. They always put his name in their name, and most of my relatives even most Nigerian. In fact, I watched a podcast where there's a couple of Nigerians and even other Nigerians. They go over the meaning of the name and say God is, and they don't even know who they are. But they do know that my folks always put God in our name some way. It's something about God, some praising God or doing great things in God's name. And before I go on, we had a question that was in the chat by one of our newcomers, David Boy 9284. He said he's done his DNA and want to know that some of these tribes, any of these tribes, Israelite people. Well, I know two definitely are the Mende and the Igbo.
And also, definitely the Fula.
Fula, yeah. So three of them I know. So
you can say at least three off the back.
All of them are. Yeah.
Oh, we got our professor on. Mr. Carol, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Peace and blessing, brothers. I was being quiet. Y'all finished, but yeah, interesting conversation. And to add on to that, with the names, things that we do without even consciously understanding, we name our children with quote unquote God's name. Letitia,
Exactly.
Tasha,
Derek, which is actually Darak.
Or Jai or Jeremiah. It's all in there, but we subconsciously don't even know we're doing it, but we're doing it.
Right.
And the most basic one that really should slap them in the face is hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
They do not know what they're saying in church when they say hallelujah.
Yeah.
They don't even know they're really saying his name.
And it's not even in the way that it's expressed as if it's one word, but it's a phrase.
Yes.
It's multiple words in one, but you're hitting it right on the nail.
Correct.
Express the phrase. Go ahead and express the phrase, Pastor.
And so when you see here, right, remember we talked about Freetown earlier?
Yep.
Yeah.
Look at the names that you see on the side, the territories.
Yep.
All from Freetown.
All right. So the reason why I brought this up because you see Yahweh as someone's name, right? If you put an I here, it'll be Yahweh. But you don't see Yahweh,
No.
right? We see Adomi. Guess what? That's a Hebrew word, Adamah or Adamaya. All right. Look at here. I'll go to the Hebrew. Now, this says Edomite, right? It says it's the name of an Edomite.
Mm-hmm.
But let me show you. And notice how they put the eh. But we see the patak here. Well, actually, this is the comments. The comments makes it what? Ah sound. So how are they making it eh? So this to show you still the manipulation. But this says an Edomite. But let me show you something here. Let me show you that let's go to this word here. It says of the tribe of Naphtali. So it's saying this here is Adomi or Adami, Adami. It's saying that it's a tribe of Naphtali. That's an Israelite name, right?
Ah.
You
Well, they twisted to be an Edomite.
You see where I'm going at with it. See, this is
Yep.
this is why I'm just revealing how I do a lot of studying. I have the physical book of this dictionary on my shelf here, but the PDFs. If I can find a PDF that helps me prevent me from having to scan from my books, right? Because that could take time. So Adomi is also a name of an Israelite, as I pointed out. And we'll see this in Joshua. Look at the name that we see here.
Wow.
All right.
And it, not a
Remember we went back to Jacob, said Jacob, when we read out of Isaiah, surname. Look at what we see here. Yaakobah.
Yaakobah.
Why are we saying Yaakobah? Well, you guys already know. Look at this here. Toward Jacob, grandson of Jacob, but this is also ties into Jacob, his short form of his name as well. Look at Jacob. Yaakov or Yaakov or Yaakwaba. In the Israeli, they'll pronounce it Yaakobah. Anyway. Slave database giving you multiple proof. This is another slave database showing it here, family. I'm just giving you some sources. Look at here, Freetown. We see Weta. That's Judah. All right. Let me see here. Olauda Equiana.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Look at what he says here. He says, "My captain, my master named me Gustavus Vasa. I at that time began to understand him a little and refused to be called so, and told him as well as I could that I would be called Jacob."
He wanted to keep his name because name means something.
Exactly.
But guess what? He got subjected to beatings like Kunta Kinte. Look here when it says, "When I refused to answer to my new name, which at first I did, it gained me many a cuff." In other words, they beat him.
Yeah.
And then eventually, as he said here, "So at length I submitted, and by which I have been known ever since." And
Pastor,
last point, go ahead, Pastor.
we had an elder in the chat. I want to ask you a question there. I want to make sure I got to it because want to honor our elders. So I discovered that I am Banati
Bamalike.
Bamalike. I am 82 years old, and I have been born. I will have been born, and I was born in D.C. in the early 40s. Wow. And you've, I wonder what did you discover that Bamalike?
I'm Bamalike too. My direct maternal line.
So, Elder, welcome to the family. You are part of the family.
Absolutely, absolutely. And guess what? They know this.
Mm-hmm.
When I say they, our oppressors know this. They know this. And last point, remember we talked about the incivity language.
Yes.
You see those signs in the background?
Yep.
If you watch Coming to America, especially part 2, you know, they had these signs all through in the garments and everything that they wore. But you guys know these signs. You know, you guys, and I'm just fast forward. But this is one of the main pews you see going up the stairs. This is the first pew you see. And I turned it, of course, counterclockwise, just so that way I can read it exactly for what it is. And I identified what was on the pews because you hear this phrase that many would try to say that is Arabic by saying it's an Arabic type of writing. They'll use that because it looks cursive, which it is. But in Arabic, these letters link. But it is an Arabic type of writing because it do look like Arabic. Guess what you see here? This looks like an Arabic type of writing, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's not Arabic. It's Solatreo. It's the cursive form of Ladino. That looks like it's Arabic, right? Here's some additional images. So let's go to David Bunis. This when I went to his article. I'm not gonna go through all of this, but just for the sake, so you guys can see my methodology of seeing here. So when I saw these double lines here, I thought of the yod, right? In Israeli, it's pronounced yod, and it's pronounced ye, as in yevar. And he confirms this here. Oops. You see it right here, the double yod?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right? So when they're positioned in a certain whether it's after a letter, depending on at the beginning of the word, that's where it determines how you pronounce it, right? If it's as you see here, here's another example of it. You see the double yod with in the Israeli resh. So to make this sound what? Re or Ray. This will make the A sound, right? And then when we see the Zion is written this way, I'm just giving you some illustrations. I know I'm kind of rushing it a little bit, but you see how when you see this resh towers over a letter, but you bring it together, it'll say what? Ray. The lamad, right? Will make together when we bring all of this together, because it'll be this would be ill because we read from left to right, right? So when we bring it all together, at the beginning, yiz, re, ill.
Israel.
Right? Initially, when I saw this, I thought it was the tha. Right? So I was thinking that this was signs, or I was thinking different, different transliterations. But when I was studying the Solar Trail, it could be written. This particular letter could be written in a number of ways, which is the mem. But you have the double yod here. So when you bring it all together, I'm just fast forwarding here, right? This is incorrect. This was to when I thought this was the mem, but actually this is yam, which means day or time, right? So when you bring it all together, Yisrael yam. So Israel's time, Israel's day. All right. And one last point I want to make here is remember we were dealing with the carrot cloth? Going back here, I think I put some information up here. Insipidity is an ancient language, ancient system of graphic communication indigenous to the Ejama people of southeastern Nigeria and southwestern Cameroon in the Cross River region. It is also used by neighboring Ibibio, Ifik, Igbo peoples, right? And you'll see these signs among what? The Gullah. And you'll see these tribes associated with the Gullah.
Yeah.
Us, right? Aesthetically compelling and encoded, insipidity does not correspond to any one spoken language. It is an ideographic script whose symbols refer to abstract concepts, actions, or things, and whose use facilitates communication among people speaking different languages. All right. So what was interesting about this language, right? Because it was it's a Nigerian was in a class, a history class back in like I think it was like 1930, something like that, and the professor was teaching that Africans didn't have a written language. You know that stereotype,
Right.
Yeah.
and he had to correct that teacher and told him about the insipidity language. So just briefly, this single line, after even studying the insipidity language, a man who is onlookers or a messenger, right? With that handle there, same line with the handle, it means a man, a whip, or a man with a whip, right? And so the key to this insipidity language, if you don't know the methodology of the writer of it, then you could be lost. It could be really hard to transliterate it. I'm a hacker, right? I hack. I don't do it anymore. I'm a former hacker, right? Let me say it that way, right? One thing about this insipidity language, there is no order of writing. A sign may be horizontal or vertical or oblique as it suits the convenience of who? The writer. So if we try to go through Europeans, we'll never get to the origins of it to understand the methodology of the writer. So that's that squiggly line here. It means a man who makes trouble between two people. These three lines together, that's on the pews, prevent danger. And look at what we see here. And together it means prevent danger from who? Men with whips. And look at what you see here on this chart here, insipidity chart.
Yep.
And this is on the pews, right? Some of the pews have symbols at the header, so it gives you an idea of what direction to read it from, right? And those are the three squiggly lines. And one is thicker than the other, and that's how I really figured it out. These three symbols together means prevent danger from the overseers who carry whips and make trouble. All right. And last point I'll make here Is those those three look like reverse C's or four reverse C's? Well, let's go back to that chart. Or do I have it here? Well, it means this symbol means trek, journey, voyage, tracks. So if I go back here to this chart, do you guys see it right here?
Yeah.
The wave.
Right here. These look like a C, look like a check.
Yeah.
You see, you see it like, and as you can see, remember that book that I shared with you guys? Doesn't some of these symbols look similar?
Yep.
This is actually on the pew, one of the pews. This one right here, mirror. All right, so I just thought I'd just share this with you guys, and this goes to the one of the writings here. Let me go here. I'm just fast forwarding, right? I didn't put it all in. I thought I had it all there. My apologies. I went too fast and ended it, but yeah. And we could do it internally, far as have the discussion, because I'm Sister Carol will tell you, I'm just hesitant with doing it on social media because of how many try to profane the information.
Right.
Yeah.
And the scripture says, it tells us not to cast our pearls before the swines.
Right.
And for me, because I got offered money for this work that I just shared here, I got offered this, substantial amount of money, and I won't do it because if it was hidden for us back then it should be hidden for us today, in terms of just strictly for our people.
Right.
It was hidden for us for a reason. That knowledge was sealed for a reason, for such a time as this, where somebody was going to come and ask the right questions, going to seek and find it. And guys, that's what he did. Pastor Richardson himself, his own great grandfather's church, where those people wrote those language, our ancestors, to leave us clues, to show us our history. So we don't just reset back to the norm what our education system gave us, but they gave you that they knew who they were. And you did also, and in fact, I'm gonna put in the chat. Me and you did a interview a long time ago about this. You went in detail, but put that in chat. But you talked about how they named when they were calling different parts of the church and the leadership of the church. They had names of groups. They named themselves Israelite.
Yeah. And what's powerful is this, family. It's you see the Ethiopian writings of got eyes on the pews. As we just said here, you see Insibity. You have Solatreo, which is Ladino. You also see ancient and if we want to say the block script Hebrew. You see, it's on the pews. But we're supposed to be, according to them, uneducated, illiterate.
Yeah.
It's just that the true tense of illiteracy is that we like Deuteronomy 28, a language that we could not comprehend.
All right.
English is a language that is the hardest language in the world to learn. We know it because we've been born and raised into it, but other cultures, it's hard because what makes it challenging is that it has not only definite articles, it has indefinite articles, meaning it could be very filled with ambiguity. It could be very vague. It could have double meanings to stuff. Like if I say grill, right? Yeah, some would think that I'm going to cook something on the what? Grill, but I could be talking about somebody teeth.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or I could say face, get out my grill, face, so that's some of the
on the front of the car.
Exactly. So, so that's the thing with our ancient language is simple, right? It's that simple, but they've interpolated it to make it complicated, right? It's very simple. As you guys can see, is very simple, and I can't even say even a caveman can do it because they can't, because that's why they tried to change it. So I'll leave it at that.
But Pastor, don't you
But
think it's funny?
appreciate it.
Don't you think it's funny they thought we weren't smart enough, but yet and still we were able to put patterns in our braids and the hair to give keys to how we can escape. Have songs with meaning. Come up with language that they didn't understand, but we weren't smart enough.
Oh, they
Absolutely.
do.
So that's when you start dealing with encryption, right? We created encryption, and as you can
Yeah,
see that they put certain patterns inside their braids, that only we understood. Not just with the braids, but also with the quilts. You know what I mean? They
yeah,
they they would put signs on the quilts and hang it up, and you can see where it's safe and where it's not safe. Who to dip? All of that there. And all the way to what they would call scribble scrabble, but we can read it because on the surface, when you look at the pews, it can look like scribble scrabble.
Mm-hmm.
But they purposely had to do that so that way the slave owners they could not catch on to what they were writing. So again, to your point, Berean scholar and family, I think I did a teaching on that, the Road to Savannah Part 1, and I literally go through explaining the quilts, explaining the patterns of the hair, and explaining the pews and how they were trying to change all of this before our eyes. Lewis Henry Gates. I'll just leave it
another.
at that. I'm not going to call him any names. Right, Sister Carol?
Correct.
She said correct. She's like, that's right. I ain't gonna call him no names.
Sister
But
Carol, you gonna say something?
there you go, Sister Carol.
No, I was going to just add on what Pastor Kelly just said. We were educated, and we were not only educated, we were professionals. We were lawyers, we were physicians, we were teachers. We brought all those skills with us. How do you think we did masonry work, brick
Yeah,
building,
Exactly.
architect? We knew all this stuff, and they knew we knew. That's why they brought us here. We brought foods here to plant. How do you think the black eyed pea got here? How do you think certain vegetables got here? Certain things we brought to this that's in this country now. We
A
brought them with
watermelon,
us. Yeah, all of that. So they
coffee.
knew who we were. That wasn't how were they going to teach us to do something if we couldn't speak the same language?
Sister Carol, one of the videos I was looking at, they was talking about they went to certain parts of Africa to get people who knew how to deal with the floodlands, the swamplands, to build
Yes,
levees. And there was one guy was saying it was some levee system that the slave built are still in use today.
Yeah.
They still
yes.
work.
Well,
Well,
look how
even
much
to
look all
that
the
point,
things we invented. Look at everything has been invented in this country. Things that we got patterns for, and things we did not get a patent for.
Right.
and the reason why
Like,
we couldn't get patents to it, is because at that time, property could not get patents. We were considered
that's right.
property, and that's how they would
That's right.
hijack our inventions.
Absolutely.
Property couldn't own property. Property couldn't have patents on things. So they'll hijack it. And
Correct.
even to that point about the Spanish Florida, because one of the misnomers is people think that it was all about getting to Canada initially when we started dealing with the Underground Railroad. They never tell you that they were trying to get to
Right.
Florida.
Right.
You know what I mean? Does it make sense to be down in Macon, Georgia, and you only maybe 5 hours,
Yeah.
and then going south versus days of multiple days of journey and going through all this danger to get north? That makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
But the Spanish offered freedom,
Mm-hmm.
that all we have to do is get there. And guess where we held it down at? In the swampland, because Florida, moment you get into Florida, is nothing but swampland.
Right.
For us, it was like, hey, that's the Congos. And they were
Exactly.
defeating for almost for over 100 years, defeating the colonies, or the army of the colonies,
Exactly.
defeating them with ease.
Yep.
So I just thought I'd add that point of history to it, so that way, family, you guys understand, they know who we are. And as Berean scholars share, it's things that are right now still in place. the church of Savannah withstood the major hurricanes.
Yep.
That decimated that whole area. But
Yeah,
that
it's
church still
good.
stood.
Still
Only
there.
thing that got damaged was the steeple, and that's because I told him that's because the Most High is saying you don't need that. You shouldn't have the steeple on it, that hexagram on it. But over,
Yeah.
but guess what? It's. I mean, literally, it's still standing.
And and Pastor, you arrange that trip, make sure if you can, let us know again, because a lot of people in chat was interested, and I'm interested. We need to go down to Savannah and see these things that our ancestors left for us, those clues that they left who we were. You know, and again, like brother Gibson said, I wish I took time to talk to some of my elders and found out things in my past. But I do thank Yah that I know now, and I'm not going to stop from digging and asking and seeking to find out all the clues I can for the next generation to have information to show them who they are.
Exactly.
Hallelujah.
So, in that, Sister Carol, lead us off with anything you want to say on closing?
Oh no, just continue to learn. Don't ever stop learning. Dig as much as you possibly. There's no reason for us not to dig. We have the utmost technology now to allow us to dig into all type of information, and we need to utilize it.
And
Hallelujah.
Pastor Richardson? Well, I think, wait a minute, let me come to you last, Pastor, because you always give the last closing. Brother Gibson?
Yeah, I would just to reiterate what everyone has said and what Sister Carol had mentioned. Understand that we are part of the fabric of building wealth in this country.
Yes.
1619 Virginia, please understand, the Virginia colony was on the verge of bankrupt. But when those pirates captured that Spanish ship and brought those more than 20 and odd, they basically reinvented the agrarian system there in Virginia and saved that colony. So, you know, Yah has a special place for us, but we have to understand our history.
Yes. I'm glad you said that, brother, because we didn't get a chance to get into all the information we had tonight because we didn't touch Israel Hill. And you said about the ships that they couldn't find slave ship. There's other ships that was out there they didn't call them slave ship, they called them other words. You said it, pirate ships. And we'll get into that next time. But Pastor Richardson, will you give us the benediction?
I just want to say appreciate you guys for having this discussion, and apologies for being a little late here. You know, I was on the road, but really appreciate it. And thank you again, Brother Gibson, for sharing your family. I just really like how you went into the names, and you know, and that's important because names have meaning, and you can see the Hebrew origins of them. You know, but really appreciate you. Always a pleasure having Sister Carol in the building. She being calm tonight, but she's the troublemaker of the bunch. Yeah. Hear her. She must have either preparing or finished grading papers. So she probably in her calm mode right now. She in her professor mode right now.
Yes, I am.
See, I could tell. So
Dr. Carol.
You know, so she's in her professor mode right now. So her tone is different tonight. So she's reserved. So, but really, I want to say this to everyone. I close this out, you know, with our assembly and all. Fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh. Man, these Egyptians, you know, all our enemies, you know, that are against us, they will not have power over us ever again. The Most High will fight for us, but the kicker is we have to hold our peace. And the Hebrew word in that text for peace is charash, which means be quiet. In other words, calculated silence. Can't go back, can't stay here, keep moving forward. Shalom.
Shalom.
Wow.
Shalom.
What do you think about this topic? Remember to be a Berean scholar, as it is written in the book of Acts 17 verses 11 to 12. Now the Bereans were more noble-minded than the Thessalonians, for they received the message with great eagerness and examined the scriptures every day to see if these teachings were true. It's time to deepen your understanding and see your reflection in the sacred pages. Please click subscribe, and click the notification bell to stay up to date with the Berean Scholar channel.